The things I'm about to show you are straight up magical. So unusual, if someone described them to you, you'd probably assume they were made up. Welcome to a list of natural phenomena so rare, so oddly specific, or so perfectly timed that many of them weren't even discovered until recently. Every spectacle on this list is real, verified, documented, and studied. But if you saw it without context, you'd assume it was either a glitch in the matrix or straight up magic. These aren't just pretty views or dramatic weather events. They're 1 in a billion alignments of biology, physics, or planetary chaos. Number 2 on this list bleeds out of solid ice in one of the coldest places on Earth. Number 4 involves millions of synchronized creatures shutting down an entire island. Number 6 doesn't happen on Earth's surface, and might be the most beautiful thing you see all year. And the final one is buried underground, in conditions so extreme that human survival is limited to just minutes, despite being one of the most mesmerizing sights ever discovered. So yeah, get ready to have your mind blown. And let's start with number 1. We begin in Venezuela, where a single patch of sky over a river delta lights up with more lightning than anywhere else on Earth. It happens nearly every night, in exactly the same place, and scientists are still trying to explain why. This is spectacle number 1. This is Catatumbo lightning, a continuous atmospheric phenomenon that occurs over the Catatumbo River Delta at the southern edge of Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela. What makes it so unique isn't just the intensity, it's the location, regularity, and sheer scale of the display. On most nights of the year, often up to 260 nights annually, this area experiences an intense barrage of lightning strikes, sometimes reaching 280 flashes per hour. That's nearly 1 strike every 13 seconds. In fact, this phenomenon is so persistent and powerful that it earned the nickname the Everlasting Storm. It's visible from up to 400 kilometers away, and at times has even been used as a natural navigational beacon for ships approaching the coast. What's strange is that this doesn't happen randomly across the region. It's localized. The lightning is confined almost exclusively to this small area of Venezuela. The cause is a complex mix of geography and atmospheric conditions. Warm, moist air from the Caribbean meets cooler air from the Andes and the surrounding swamps, creating a vertical loop that fuels towering thunderclouds. Lake Maracaibo's unique topography traps this energy in place. The phenomenon has even made it into global scientific records. In 2014, NASA officially recognized the area as having the highest lightning strike rate on Earth. 1 square kilometer of this delta can experience up to 250 lightning strikes per year, which is an extreme outlier compared to the global average. There have been rare occasions where the lightning stopped, such as in 2010, when it mysteriously ceased for several weeks, only to return without explanation. That temporary silence puzzled scientists and sparked speculation about changes in climate or regional wind patterns. But the storms came back, as they always do. To this day, Catatumbo lightning remains one of the most consistent, powerful, and mysterious electrical shows on the planet, not created by technology or theater, just weather doing something extraordinary in the exact same spot almost every night. From a sky that never stops flashing, we head to a place that's silent, frozen, and leaking something no one expected. In the middle of the Antarctic ice, a vivid red liquid pours out from deep below the glacier, and it's not what it looks like. This is spectacle number 2. This is Blood Falls, a surreal outflow of bright red water that seeps from the base of Taylor Glacier in Antarctica's McMurdo Dry Valleys. For years, scientists didn't know what it was. From a distance, it looks like something bleeding out of the ice. A stream of thick red fluid staining the white glacier like a wound. And in the coldest, driest part of the continent, that image alone was enough to spark decades of mystery. The phenomenon was first discovered in 1911 by Australian geologist Griffith Taylor, who assumed the color came from red algae. But later studies disproved that theory entirely. It turns out the source of the red is iron-rich brine, extremely salty, oxygen-free water that's been trapped beneath the glacier for over 1 million years. What makes it weirder is how it got there. The McMurdo Dry Valleys are one of the few places in Antarctica not covered by snow year-round. The landscape is so dry and cold that when sea levels were higher during the last ice age, seawater seeped into cracks beneath the glacier, then got sealed in as the ice advanced. Over millennia, the iron in the trapped water began to rust, and now, under pressure, that ancient rusted brine leaks out through fissures at the glacier's base, creating a vivid blood-red waterfall in the middle of nowhere. But here's the most surprising part. That subglacial pool, completely cut off from sunlight and oxygen, is full of living microbes. These extremophiles survive in complete darkness, under crushing pressure, using only sulfate and iron for energy. It's one of the most Earth-like analogs we have for studying life under the surface of Mars or Europa. Blood Falls isn't large, but its color, composition, and the life it supports make it one of the strangest and most unexpected natural phenomena ever recorded in Antarctica. A bleeding glacier that doesn't bleed, it rusts, from ancient seawater sealed under ice for over 1 million years. Next, we go beneath the Antarctic sea ice, to a phenomenon that forms in complete darkness. It grows downward like a frozen finger of death, hunting anything in its path, slow, silent, and nearly invisible. It wasn't even caught on camera until the 21st century. This is spectacle number 3. This is the Brinicle, short for brine icicle, one of the strangest and least known natural phenomena on Earth. It forms deep under the sea ice near Antarctica, in complete darkness, and for decades, it was barely even believed to exist. Scientists knew the conditions were possible, but they had never actually seen one until 2011, when a BBC film crew finally caught one on camera for the first time. A Brinicle begins when extremely cold, salty brine from the surface ice starts leaking into the ocean below. Sea ice pushes out salt as it freezes, concentrating it into dense pockets. That supercooled brine, far colder and saltier than the surrounding seawater, sinks, and as it does, it begins to freeze everything it touches. What forms is a narrow, hollow tube of ice, stretching downward from the sea ice like a frozen stalactite. But here's the eerie part. It keeps growing, foot by foot, forming a deadly trap as it snakes toward the seafloor. When it reaches the bottom, it creates a spreading ice web that can instantly freeze starfish, sea urchins, or slow-moving bottom dwellers, encasing them in ice before they can escape. It's not big, usually no more than 1 meter or 2 in length, but its movement, shape, and lethality make it one of the most alien things ever discovered in Earth's oceans. Scientists have called it the icy finger of death. The physics behind it are well understood now. Cold brine is denser, sinks, and flash freezes surrounding water. But the conditions required are incredibly specific. It only happens in polar regions, under calm, stable sea ice, where temperatures, salinity, and stillness align perfectly. Brinicles are not dangerous to humans. You'll never accidentally fall into one. But they remain one of the rarest, least seen, and most unsettling natural spectacles on the planet. A slow-moving, underwater ice trap, drifting silently in the dark, killing with cold. From the frozen silence of the seafloor, we head to a tropical island, where millions of bright red creatures move as one. It happens just once a year, and when it does, it completely takes over roads, beaches, and even buildings. This is spectacle number 4. This is the Christmas Island red crab migration, one of the largest and most synchronized animal movements on the planet. Every year, more than 50 million red crabs leave the rainforest and head straight for the ocean, all at once. That's when the males begin the journey, followed closely by the females. They travel for days, covering roads, rocks, and jungle, all aiming for the coast. The goal is simple: reproduce. The timing, however, is incredibly precise. The females must release their eggs during the last quarter moon, when the tides are lowest and the larvae have the best chance of survival. On the right night, they gather at the shoreline and release millions of eggs into the water, in near-perfect synchronization. What follows is controlled chaos. Crabs take over roads, bridges, beaches, and even private yards. The island has adapted with crab tunnels, fences, and warning signs. Roads are shut down. Locals delay errands. Drivers navigate carefully through living waves of red. Ecologists are still amazed by how consistent the event is, year after year. And while most crab larvae are swept away by the ocean, some return weeks later as juveniles and climb back inland, restarting the cycle. But there's a threat. Invasive species, especially the yellow crazy ant, have killed millions of migrating crabs in recent decades by spraying them with formic acid. Conservation efforts are now critical to protect the migration's future. Still, when conditions are right, it happens again. A single pulse of synchronized life flooding an island for just a few days. It's one of the clearest reminders that sometimes nature doesn't follow us. Instead, we follow nature. From an island overtaken by migrating crabs, we head to the highlands of Indonesia, to a volcano that erupts fire unlike anything you've seen before. It doesn't glow red or orange, it glows electric blue, and it only appears under the right conditions, in the middle of the night. This is spectacle number 5. This is Kawah Ijen, a 2,385 meter, or 7,825 foot stratovolcano in East Java, Indonesia. It's one of the only places on Earth where fire glows blue, lighting up the crater slopes with a neon-colored burn that looks completely unreal. But here's the truth. The fire itself isn't blue. What you're seeing is blue flames produced by ignited sulfuric gas. Inside Kawah Ijen, underground volcanic activity forces high-pressure sulfur gases through cracks in the rock. When those gases meet the oxygen-rich air and the temperature is high enough, they spontaneously ignite. The resulting flames can shoot up to 5 meters high, glowing electric blue as they burn across the landscape. The phenomenon only happens at night. During the day, the flames are still there, but sunlight makes them invisible to the eye. That's why early reports were rare, and why photographs of Kawah Ijen's blue fire didn't emerge until relatively recently. It takes the perfect combination of volcanic pressure, high gas concentration, and complete darkness to witness it. But that's not the only strange thing happening here. Inside the crater sits one of the largest acidic lakes in the world, a turquoise pool of sulfuric acid with a pH close to battery acid. The lake constantly emits steam and toxic gases, creating a surreal, almost alien atmosphere around the summit. And yet, people work here every day. Local sulfur miners descend into the crater, often without protection, to collect chunks of solidified sulfur and carry them back up in baskets. Each load can weigh over 70 kilograms, and the work is dangerous, corrosive, and extremely underpaid. Kawah Ijen is both a natural wonder and a brutal workplace. A glowing volcano with blue flames, an acid lake, and a human cost, all burning silently in the dark, high above the forests of Java. From the glow of an Indonesian volcano, we head into space, that's right, over the magnetic poles of our planet. You've probably heard of the aurora borealis, but under the right conditions, something far more powerful unfolds. This is the strongest kind of aurora Earth can produce. This is spectacle number 6. This is a G5 class solar storm, the most extreme level on the solar storm scale and the rarest form of aurora-producing space weather we know. While typical auroras paint the sky with shifting greens and purples, a G5 storm can electrify the atmosphere with colors seen from entire continents and trigger massive effects across the planet. It begins with a coronal mass ejection from the sun, a violent burst of magnetized plasma that travels through space at over 1 million miles per hour. If that wave of energy slams into Earth's magnetic field just right, it triggers a geomagnetic storm, bending our planet's protective field and releasing that energy into the atmosphere. What follows can light up the skies from the Arctic all the way to the tropics. These are the storms responsible for the most legendary auroral events in recorded history. In 1859, a G5 class storm, known as the Carrington event, lit up the skies across the globe, visible as far south as Cuba and Colombia. Telegraph systems sparked, caught fire, and worked without power. In 1989, a similar storm caused a 9-hour blackout across Quebec, damaging transformers and disrupting radio communications. A G5 class storm is rare, maybe a few per solar cycle, but when it hits, it affects everything connected to the Earth's magnetic field: GPS systems, satellites, aviation routes, power grids, and even pipelines. The storms are so powerful that astronauts aboard the ISS must take shelter in shielded areas to avoid radiation exposure. Visually, the display is unforgettable. Auroras during a G5 event can pulse, flash, and shimmer with unusual speed and color, sometimes taking on rare hues like deep red or even blue. They can stretch across the entire sky, from horizon to horizon, visible from places that almost never see auroras at all. It's one of the most beautiful natural spectacles Earth has to offer, and one of the only ones that doesn't begin on Earth at all. From glowing skies high above the Earth, we return to the surface, but this time underground. Inside a dark cave in New Zealand, thousands of tiny organisms light up the walls like stars, creating one of the most surreal views on the planet. This is spectacle number 7. This is the Waitomo glowworm cave, a limestone cavern system on New Zealand's North Island, where thousands of tiny creatures illuminate the darkness with a soft, eerie glow. Step inside, and the ceiling above you looks like the night sky, filled with stars that aren't stars at all. The light comes from the Arachnocampa luminosa, a glowworm species found only in New Zealand. Despite their name, they're actually the larvae of a fungus gnat, and their glow isn't for beauty. It's a trap. These larvae spin long, sticky silk threads from the cave ceiling and use their bioluminescent glow to lure in prey. Insects attracted to the light get caught in the threads and are slowly consumed. The result is stunning. Thousands of these worms lining the ceiling, each casting a cold blue light. Together, they create a natural planetarium, perfectly still, completely silent, and glowing with purpose. The glow itself comes from a chemical reaction involving luciferin, luciferase, ATP, and oxygen, similar to how fireflies produce light. But in the confined darkness of the cave, the effect is far more intense and immersive. It takes just a few minutes for your eyes to adjust, and then the walls begin to disappear. All that's left is the light. The caves are part of a much larger car system carved out by underground rivers over millions of years. Visitors today can glide through the main glowworm chamber by boat, guided by local experts who speak in whispers to preserve the silence. Bioluminescence isn't unique to this one location, but this scale, this density, and this kind of organism only exist here. And because the glowworms are so sensitive to noise, light, and environmental change, the entire cave is carefully protected. The Waitomo glowworm caves are one of the only places on Earth where light exists only in the absence of light, where thousands of tiny lives create a spectacle that looks like the galaxy has been flipped upside down and brought underground. From a galaxy of glowworms beneath New Zealand, we travel deeper underground to a place where crystals grow taller than houses. It's unbearably hot, impossible to survive for long, and looks like a fantasy cave pulled straight out of a dream. This is spectacle number 8. This is the Cave of the Crystals, located nearly 1,000 feet below the surface in Naka, Chihuahua, Mexico. Inside this giant chamber are some of the largest natural crystals ever discovered. Massive beams of transparent gypsum growing in every direction, some reaching over 40 feet long and weighing up to 55 tons. The cave was accidentally discovered in the year 2000 by miners drilling into the Nika silver mine. What they found didn't look real. It looked like a movie set, giant shimmering crystals jutting from the floor and ceiling in a space so humid and hot it's nearly impossible to survive unprotected. Temperatures inside reach up to 58 degrees Celsius or 136 degrees Fahrenheit, with 90 to 100% humidity. Without a cooling suit and oxygen, a person could lose consciousness in under 10 minutes. The crystals themselves are gypsum, the same mineral used to make drywall, but here they've been growing slowly for hundreds of thousands of years, thanks to a unique combination of high temperature, mineral-rich water, and extreme geological stability. It's believed that groundwater heated by magma slowly filled the chamber and allowed these crystals to grow uninterrupted over immense periods of time. Once the cave was drained during mining operations, the growth stopped, and the crystals became exposed for the first time in human history. But exposure also put them at risk. The chamber is so fragile that it's now closed to the public, with only limited scientific access allowed. What makes the Cave of the Crystal so unusual isn't just the size of the formations, it's how alien the environment feels. Blinding white beams stretch in every direction, with barely enough room to walk between them. The air is thick, the heat overwhelming, and time feels frozen. In the end, it's a spectacle born from slow, silent growth, a hidden world that was never meant to be seen, revealed by accident and too hostile for us to stay. After witnessing these 1 in a billion natural phenomena, one question remains. Which one do you think is the most spectacular? Or did I miss one even stranger? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and check out my other stuff. Thanks for watching.